got a great slate of Steelers news and rumors to cover today. First, we're going to talk about L'Jarius Sneed. There's been a report that the Steelers have expressed interest in trading for the Chiefs corner. I'm going to let you know my thoughts on that. And then also another report that the Steelers are considering trading up for Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze. I'm going to be going over his scouting report and whether or not I think it's a good idea for Pittsburgh to move up for him. And then also there's another report that says that the Steelers are planning to keep Allan Robinson on the roster in 2024. And make sure you guys stick around because I'm going to tell you why that's a bad idea. But first, guys, get down there in the comments section and help us out here at the channel because we're at the point in the year now where we're trying to get feedback from you guys and trying to figure out how we can make this show better for you. So let me know right now down there in the comments section. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this show to another Steelers fan like yourselves? On a scale of 1 to 10, anything above an 8, really do appreciate all of your guys' support. But anything below an 8, go down there in the comments section and give us a suggestion for how we can make this show better for you. All right, so now let's get into the rumors here, starting with L'Jarius Sneed, the Chiefs corner that just got franchise tagged by Kansas City, but Kansas City said they're looking to trade him. So, listen, man, I do think that L'Jarius Sneed is a very good player. And if he were hitting the free agency market, I would actually think he'd be one of, if not the top cornerback target for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. Of course, they franchise tagged him. Kansas City did earlier this week, which means that his cap hit, no matter where he's playing, is going to be almost $20 million for 2024. So if the Steelers trade for him, that's what it's going to be. Pretty decent price tag there in terms of the cap hit. But also, it looks like the Steelers will have to give up at least a day 2 pick and likely their second round pick to land L'Jarius Sneed in a trade. So not only do you have to pay the man $20 million next season in a cap hit, but also you have to give up some very valuable draft capital to get him in your building. Now, Sneed is a very aggressive corner that I think really does fit what the Steelers want to do defensively. Really good in press man coverage, super aggressive, all these different things. And last year's Pro Football Focus grade was actually pretty darn good at 72.5. That's the 30th out of 127 eligible corners in the National Football League for Pro Football Focus grading. So he's legit. He's a really good corner. And although I like him, I do think that the high cap hit mixed with the high draft pick that it's going to take to get him in your building, for me, that is too steep of a price. If I'm GM Omar Khan, I'm looking for maybe getting a better value, maybe a cheaper option in free agency or potentially getting somebody early in the 2024 NFL draft, which is going to be immensely cheaper than L'Jarius Sneed. So right now in free agency, guys, these are the 5 corners that I would say keep your eye on in terms of Steelers signing them in the next couple of weeks. Chidobe Awuzie played for a division rival. They're letting him go. Maybe he wants to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers so he can play his former team twice a year. He's a good fit in the Steelers system. And 2 years at $10.5 million per season, I think is perfectly fine. I think he'd be a really good complementary piece to Joey Porter Jr. in this defense. If you want to go more of the veteran route, maybe a 1-year contract, Stephon Gilmore is an interesting option as well. I think he's a good fit schematically in this system as well. Then Kenny Moore, if you're looking for more of a slot / outside versatile kind of guy, somebody that can play multiple spots in the secondary, Kenny Moore could certainly be your guy. Great locker room personality, and he's a former Pro Bowler, and he's super, super solid. And you look at that price right there, $6.75 million per season over 2 years. I think that's a great value. And then somebody that maybe had a rough year in 2023, but it's been a good corner in the past is Adoree Jackson. You could get him for $6 million on a 1-year contract. And then Emmanuel Mosley is another guy like that where he's traditionally been a really good corner, had kind of an off year with Detroit last year, but definitely a value there at 1 year, $4 million per season. And then although we don't know the projected contracts for recently released guys like Darius Williams, who was with the Los Angeles Rams a couple seasons ago, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. He was just released today. And then also Xavier Howard from the Miami Dolphins. I think both of these guys are decent fits with the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I think it's going to come down to how much they're asking for on the open market and whether or not they're going to fit what the Steelers are looking for. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section and take your pick. Would you rather trade that second-round pick and pay $20 million for L'Jarius Sneed type trade, or would you rather go out and sign a free agent to put on the other side of Joey Porter Jr.? If you'd rather do that, type sign. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Now let's shift from corner to wide receiver here, where the Steelers met formally with top wide receiver prospect in this year's NFL draft, Rome Odunze, who's expected to be a top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft. And it has some people speculating whether or not the Steelers are considering trading up for a wide receiver, specifically Odunze, in round 1 of this year's draft. Now, here is my scouting report on Odunze, and the first thing that probably comes that catches your eye is that there is no cons to Rome Odunze's profile for me, man. He's got the size. He's got the ball skills. I mean, some of the best ball skills I have ever seen from a college prospect. There are a number of throws, whatever Washington game you watched from last season, there's a number of catches that this guy makes where you're like, that is just unfair, the way that he is catching that football in those 50-50 ball contested situations. The route running is also really good. And, people will say maybe the athleticism isn't all that great with Odunze. He ran a sub 4.5. This guy's got plenty of juice in the tank. And then when he matches that with the exceptional route running that he brings to the table, he can certainly separate. He reminds me a lot of different guys around the league like Jamar Chase. And he's absolutely worth a top 5 pick, in my opinion, in terms of the overall skill set that he brings to the table. And at the end of the day, I do think he is one of the more complete wide receiver prospects to enter the National Football League in the last decade. I really do think he's a special player. Unfortunately for him, he's in the same draft class as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, two guys that are also worth top 5 picks. So for me, Rome Odunze ranks 3rd on my big board among wide receivers right now. So the big question that Steelers fans need to be asking themselves when it comes to Odunze is, should the Steelers trade up for him? Is it worth it for the Pittsburgh Steelers to really make an investment in this guy and pair him up with George Pickens? I'm going to answer that question here in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Listen, fellas, I don't have to tell you that warmer weather leads to a funkier crotch. But don't worry, all you have to do to say goodbye to your stink is grab some Mando Whole Body Deodorant and nip body odor in the bud. Put it on your pits, your package, your feet, and beyond for whole body freshness. From the makers of Lumi Deodorant, Mando is clinically proven to work hard all day. Instead of just covering up BO with heavy fragrances, Mando stops odor at the source, stopping the stink from happening in the first place. Spring into the season with a deodorant that can handle the heat. And for Steelers Talk listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com. And personally, guys, I love using their body wash. It is bourbon leather, so it's a super masculine, super fresh scent that I wear in the morning, and it keeps the stink away all day long. It wasn't really an issue for me, guys, in the first place, but this is just an extra thing, an extra layer of protection. And honestly, the way that it's helped me the most is with the stink here at the office here at Chat Sports. Lots of the guys here that used to stink no longer stink, which is definitely helping out my life. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash like we talked about, and even deodorant wipes, plus free shipping. Again, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. It's time to smell better naked, and trust me, your partner will thank you too. Thank you to Mando for sponsoring today's show. And with that, I'm going to talk about Rome Odunze here and why I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers should trade up for him, okay? Wide receiver is a position that's like a generational type group here for the 2024 NFL Draft. There are so many good wide receiver options for the Steelers to consider, and especially given that you're probably going to have to trade up into the top 10 to take Odunze and what that's going to cost, likely your first-round pick next season. That's not a price I'm willing to pay when you could get some really high-quality value picks in the middle rounds of this year's draft at the wide receiver position. Now, the Steelers formally met with a lot of the top receivers in the 2024 draft class, like Adonai Mitchell, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas Jr., Troy Franklin, and Jalen McMillan, along with Rome Odunze. And listen, this group right here, outside of probably A.D. Mitchell, all these guys are probably going to go late first or in the second round. So what I think the Steelers' strategy is here is they're going to hope one of these wide receivers falls to round 2, and if one of them does fall, they're going to take them in round 2, okay? So that's probably what the plan is for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if Rome Odunze falls to them at 20, that's probably their plan as well. But I'm going to tell you this right now, guys, that's not going to happen. I really do think the Steelers are probably slated to take an offensive lineman in round 1. And then if any of these guys does fall into round 2 with your pick at number 51, absolutely that becomes on the table for the Steelers. Now, when it comes to Diontae Johnson, and what this kind of means is that, with the Steelers meeting with all these different wide receivers that are going to go early in the draft, that definitely points that the Steelers are at least considering trading away Diontae Johnson this offseason. You don't spend a high draft pick on your next wide receiver if Diontae Johnson and George Pickens are both on the roster locked up long term. So really, I do think that the Steelers could potentially be trading Diontae Johnson, and if they do so, expect the Steelers to take a wide receiver by the end of day 2 of the NFL draft this year. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a wide receiver by round 3 this year? By the end of day 2, will the Steelers draft a wide receiver? Give me a yes or give me a no to predict what the Steelers are going to do. Then the last thing we'll talk about today, let's go over Allan Robinson and a recent report that the Steelers are currently trying to work out a deal with A-Rob for him to take a pay cut next season so that he can stay with the team. Now, listen, Allan Robinson did not have a good season last year whatsoever. He was completely healthy throughout the entire year, and yet he didn't catch a single touchdown pass, only got 280 yards receiving. I mean, some guys like George Pickens and, the best receivers in the league can get up to that number within 2 games, right? Allan Robinson just got up to 280 throughout the entire course of a 17-game season and only got 34 catches. The Pro Football Focus grade wasn't good, and really the only value that he brought to the table was his run blocking. Now you look at the cap hit here, and it's over $11 million, and it's getting close to the territory of $12 million for somebody that doesn't get open against man coverage, somebody that is not a favorite target of Kenny Pickett or any of the other quarterbacks that were on the team last year. I mean, I just don't understand why the Steelers like this guy so much. I understand that he's a pretty darn good run blocker and the impact that he had in that area of the game, but this guy is a wide receiver. His job is to catch passes as a pass catcher, and he doesn't do that well. So I do not understand why the Steelers want to keep him. And if I were GM Omar Khan, I would just cut him loose because he's a wide receiver. You need your wide receivers to be good route runners, to get open against man coverage, to provide value as a wide receiver. And Allan Robinson just doesn't do that right now. So where I'm at here with A-Rob is that I appreciate what he did for the run game here in Pittsburgh last year. I have a feeling Arthur Smith probably really likes him because of the run blocking element that he brings to the table. But at the end of the day, man, wide receivers need to be good receivers. And that's not what Allan Robinson is at this stage in his career. And because of that, I'm taking the extra $10 million in cap savings by cutting him loose before the start of free agency. Now, let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. Should the Steelers cut or keep Allan Robinson if he decides to take a pay cut? Would you keep him if he takes a pay cut, or would you just straight up cut him? Personally, guys, I'm letting him loose, but let me know what you guys think. Type C if you're going to cut him, or type K if you're going to keep him on a pay cut. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button because Every time there's breaking news coverage for the Pittsburgh Steelers during NFL free agency, every time they sign somebody, if they make a move for a quarterback, we're going to have you guys covered with breaking news coverage, 100% free, along with our daily news and rumors content. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now for the best damn Steelers coverage right here on YouTube.